Welcome back to Sliver and Bite TV. Today we are making sweet and sour pork. Sweet and sour pork is easily one of the top dishes known internationally outside of China, and is headed straight to the basic white bee Chinese dish playlist here on Sliver and Bite TV. Let's get started. In front of me I have 400 grams of pork shoulder, a glass bowl, some ginger, shallot, soy sauce, corn flour, the three ingredients in this ramekin: garlic powder, salt, and baking soda. First, we are going to remove the thick piece of rind off of the pork because it simply just doesn't go with this dish. As much as I love some pork crackle, now you want to get as much of the sinew off that's in between the actual meat and the rind. However, if you do leave a little bit on there, you'll be able to tidy it up when you're dicing it up. Sometimes these shoulder roasts will have some pre-cuts in it, so do your best to work along with the cuts that may have been put in by the butcher. You're looking at dicing it up into 2 centimeter squared chunks, just under an inch. Any thicker, you may have trouble cooking it all the way through. If in doubt of the size that you're cutting, you just think back to the last time you had Chinese and how large the chunks were that were served to you. When purchasing the pork shoulder, remember you will be removing the rind, and you can see that I've got 471 grams. So that would have been a good 550 grams when purchasing. Now preparing the shallot, so cutting off both ends, cutting in half. You will need some for your marinade and also for your sauce. Also your ginger, just snap off one of the knobs and you can peel the husk off of that. And over your pork, you will use a fine grater or a zester to put in 12 grams of the ginger and of the shallot. Because we're only marinating for 30 minutes, you want it as fine as possible so that it actually permeates and penetrates into the pork. Now for the shallot. the corn flour, the ramekin of garlic, salt and baking soda, and lastly the soy, and then give that a good mix. And we're going to cover that and put in the fridge for 30 minutes. Can be longer, but 30 minutes is all it needs. The baking soda in the mix will assist in tenderizing the pork. And the corn flour assists in allowing all of the spices to be absorbed into the meat. Now we're preparing the batter. You can see that I'm pouring some soda water, that's a cup, and in the bowl with the whisk I've got some self-raising flour and some corn flour. So we're going to mix that together. You will need a little more soda water, but that is a judgment call a little further on once you've combined this first cup. I added an extra half cup. While I'm mixing that, I have the oil heating to 160 to 180 degrees Celsius. You'll see the first few pieces of pork that I put through, it actually bubbles quite a bit. I did have it a tad high. You'll see a little further on in the video, once I level out the heat, it actually looks a lot better and a little more controlled. You'll see I'm using a spoon just to check the consistency, and you'll see how thin or thick it is by seeing the colour of the spoon through the batter. Now add the pork to the batter. You'll see that some of the marinade comes off when you mix it. That's okay, the flavours have gone into the pork. Now it's time to carefully drop that into the oil, and we're looking for a nice golden brown. We will be doing a second fry to make sure that they're nice and crispy, so don't worry if it's a little underdone. And if you are worried that the pork isn't cooked all the way through, you can put the oven on at this stage just to 120 degrees. Whilst you're cleaning your oil, you can let them cook a little further, just for peace of mind. Remember to always double check your oil is at the right temperature. You don't want to ever get it to a point where it is over 200 degrees because you don't need any flash fires, and also you don't want the outside of the pork to cook too fast, otherwise you'll end up with raw pork on the inside. When removing the pork, make sure it's on a drying rack. I also put that over a baking tray just to catch any of the drips. Fast forwarding to my second fry, as you can see, I have cleaned the oil. So basically just strained the oil into another pot just to remove any of the floaties from the oil because you don't want that burning. You'll fry for 2 minutes or until your desired crispiness, and then you'll put off to the side, ready to toss in the sauce. Now we're ready to create that amazing sweet and sour sauce. Starting off with the caster sugar. Tomato paste. White vinegar. Some of the reserved pineapple juice. And the oyster and soy sauce mix. We're going to stir that until it simmers, and then we're going to reduce the heat just a little bit. We can put in some salt just for additional flavouring. And I'm just adding the corn flour into some water, and that is a little slurry just to assist in thickening the sauce a little further down the track. So the aim here is to boil off some of the moisture, the water content from the sauce, because we want to thicken it up a little bit. Think back to when you've had sweet and sour pork and the consistency of the sauce that's on it. It's sticky and not quite gluggy. You can add in the wedges of shallots. And red capsicum. At this stage, I put in just a little bit of the slurry to assist in thickening the sauce. And you'll see that I will hold off on putting the pineapple chunks in until a little further in. Otherwise, they will just disappear into the sauce. Time to bring over that amazingly crispy pork into a bowl, ready to pour over the sauce. Time to add in those pineapple chunks. You can see now that there are larger bubbles forming in the sauce, so it's thickening up just nicely. I use a tablespoon just to check the thickness of the sauce by putting it on there and then scraping it off. You'll see how it collects. Pour that over your chicken. Make sure you're getting all of the sauce out. And then you can either use some spatulas to move the sauce around, otherwise you can try giving it a toss. And there you have it, restaurant quality sweet and sour pork. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you soon.